9, the morning sun shone through the windows of the space station as Captain Jake Morrison drank his coffee. He looked out at the stars and thought about how quiet space had been lately. His ship, the U-East Defender, was the best Earth had to offer. It had strong shields, fast engines, and powerful weapons. Jake felt proud to command such a fine vessel. Suddenly, the alarm bells started ringing. Jake put down his coffee and ran to the bridge. His crew was already at their stations, looking worried. "Captain, we have a problem," said Lieutenant Katie. Sullivan. She pointed at the big screen that showed space around Jupiter. Something big just appeared out of nowhere. Jake looked at the screen and felt his heart skip a beat. Huge ships floated in space where nothing had been before. The ships were beautiful and strange, made of what looked like crystal and metal mixed together. They were bigger than anything humans had ever built. "How many ships?" Jake asked. 12. "Large ones and many smaller ones," Katie replied. "They just appeared from thin air. Our sensors show they use technology we don't understand." Jake grabbed the communication device. "This is Captain Morrison to Earth Command. We have unknown ships near Jupiter. They appeared without warning, requesting orders." The reply came quickly from Admiral Lisa Carter back on Earth. "Jake, this is what we have been waiting for. First contact with aliens. Do not attack unless they attack first. We are sending a diplomatic team." Jake nodded to his crew. "You heard the Admiral. Stay ready, but don't shoot. This could be the most important day in human history." 2 days later, Admiral Carter arrived on her ship with a team of diplomats and scientists. Dr. Amanda Foster was with them. She studied alien life and had been waiting her whole career for this moment. "The aliens sent us a message," Admiral Carter told Jake. "They speak a different language, but their computers can translate. They want to meet with U.S. on their main ship." Jake felt nervous. "Is it safe?" "We don't know," Carter admitted. "But we have to try. This is too important to miss." The alien ship was massive up close. It looked like a floating city made of blue crystal. Strange lights moved through its walls like living things. When the human shuttle docked, Jake could feel the ship humming with power. The aliens were waiting for them in a huge room. Jake had never seen anything like them. They were tall and thin, with blue skin that seemed to glow. They had 4 arms and large eyes that looked very intelligent. Their leader stepped forward. "I am High Commander Vexstar," the alien said through a device that turned his words into English. "Welcome to our ship. We have traveled far to meet you." Admiral Carter stepped forward. "I am Admiral Lisa Carter of Earth. We are honored to meet you." Vexstar made a sound that might have been laughter. "Earth. Yes, we have been watching your small planet. You are still very young as a species. We are the Zephyrian Empire. We have ruled this part of space for thousands of your years." The aliens showed the humans around their ship. Everything was amazing. The walls seemed alive with moving lights. The weapons looked like works of art. The engines made no sound, but could push the ship faster than light itself. "Your technology is incredible," Dr. Foster said, looking at everything with wide eyes. "This is normal for us," said another alien. "We have had these things for many generations. Your people are still learning to leave your planet." During the tour, the aliens asked about human weapons. Jake showed them a plasma rifle that Earth soldiers used. It was the best weapon humans had made. The aliens looked at it and started making that laughing sound again. "How cute," Vexstar said. "Your weapons are so simple, like toys that children would play with." More aliens gathered around to look at the human weapon. They passed it between their 4 hands, examining it like it was a curious object from a museum. "This fires energy bolts, yes?" asked one alien. "Very basic. We stopped using such primitive things long ago." Jake felt his face turn red with embarrassment. This rifle can punch through 3 feet of steel. The aliens laughed harder. Steel? You still use such weak metals? Vexstar waved one of his hands. Watch this. He pulled out a weapon that looked like a piece of art made from crystal. It was small and elegant, nothing like the bulky human rifle. Vexstar pointed it at a metal target and fired. The target didn't just break. It disappeared completely, turned into tiny pieces too small to see. Molecular scrambler, Vexstar explained. It breaks apart the tiny pieces that make up matter. Your steel, your energy weapons, your armor, all become dust. The humans stood in shocked silence. Their best weapons suddenly seemed worthless. We also have quantum disruptors, another alien said, showing a different weapon. They tear holes in space itself. And particle beam arrays that can destroy your largest ships from very far away. Dr. Foster whispered to Jake, their technology is centuries ahead of ours, maybe thousands of years ahead. The aliens continued showing off their weapons. Energy shields that could stop any attack. Bombs that could destroy whole planets. Ships that could appear and disappear at will. Each new weapon made the humans feel smaller and more helpless. Your kinetic weapons are especially amusing, Vexstar said. Throwing metal pieces at high speed. How wonderfully primitive. We used such things when we were barely smart enough to make fire. Commander Ryan Brooks, who had been quiet during the tour, finally spoke up. Our weapons may be simple, but they work. This made the aliens laugh even more. Work? Against what? Animals on your planet? Other humans with equally primitive tools? Vexstar shook his head. Young species, you do not understand. In real war, between advanced civilizations, such weapons are useless. The tour continued. For hours. The aliens showed the humans their medical technology that could heal any wound, their computers that could think faster than any human brain, and their factories that could build anything they wanted from basic materials. As the day ended, High Commander Vexstar called the humans to the main meeting room. His attitude had changed from friendly to serious. We have enjoyed meeting you, he said. Your species shows promise. You are creative and brave, but you are also very weak and unprotected. Admiral Carter felt a chill run down her spine. What do you mean? This galaxy is dangerous, Vexstar continued. There are species that would destroy your planet just for fun. Others that would make your people slaves. You cannot defend yourselves with toy weapons and paper-thin ships. The alien leader stood up, using all 4 arms to gesture dramatically. Therefore, the Zephyrian Empire offers you protection. Join us willingly, and we will keep you safe. Your people can live in peace under our guidance. And if we refuse? Jake asked, though he already knew the answer. Vexstar's large eyes looked sad. Then you will be conquered by someone else. Perhaps us, perhaps another empire. The result will be the same. Your independence will end. The alien handed Admiral Carter a crystal device. This contains our offer. You have 30 of your days to decide. We will return for your answer. As the humans returned to their ships, Jake felt sick to his stomach. Earth's best weapons were toys to these aliens. Their strongest ships were like paper boats in a hurricane. How could humanity possibly defend itself against such advanced enemies? What do we do now? Katie asked as they flew back to the Defender. Jake looked out at the alien fleet floating near Jupiter. The beautiful crystal ships seemed to mock them. With their advanced technology, we go home, Jake said quietly, and we figure out how to fight gods with sticks and stones. President Michelle Rodriguez sat in the emergency meeting room deep under the White House. The room was full of the most important people on Earth. Generals, scientists, diplomats, and leaders from every major country had come to discuss the alien threat. Ladies and gentlemen, the president began, we have 27 days before the aliens return for our answer. We need to decide what Earth will do. General Patrick Hayes, the head of all Earth's military forces, stood up. He was a tall man, with gray hair and tired eyes. The situation is clear. These Zephyrians have weapons we cannot match. Their ships are faster and stronger than anything we have. Fighting them would be suicide. So you think we should surrender? Asked Dr. Amanda Foster. She had returned from the alien ship with nightmares about their advanced technology. I think we should be realistic, General Hayes replied. They offered to protect us. That might be better than being destroyed by them or someone worse. President Rodriguez shook her head. I will not hand over human freedom without a fight. There has to be another way. Admiral Lisa Carter stood up next. I've been studying the recordings from our meeting with the aliens. They are very confident, maybe too confident. They think we are helpless children with toy weapons. Aren't we? Asked Secretary of Defense Robert Kim. You saw their molecular scramblers, their quantum disruptors. Our best plasma rifle looked like a water gun next to their weapons. That's exactly the point, said a new voice. Chief Engineer Danny Cooper walked into the room carrying a tablet computer. Danny was young for such an important job, but he was the smartest person on Earth when it came to weapons technology. Sorry I'm late, Danny said. I've been analyzing every second of video from the alien ship, and I found something interesting. He connected his tablet to the big screen in the room. Images of alien weapons appeared on the wall. Look at this, Danny said, pointing to the molecular scrambler. It's incredibly advanced. It can break apart any matter by attacking the tiny particles that make up everything. But notice something, it only works on targets that are moving slowly. General Hayes frowned. What do you mean? The alien fired at a stationary target. The beam moved in a straight line and hit the target directly. But what if the target was moving very fast? What if it was moving so fast that the beam couldn't track it? Dr. Foster leaned forward. You're talking about kinetic weapons. Bullets and missiles that rely on speed and mass instead of energy. Exactly, Danny said excitedly. The aliens laughed at our kinetic weapons. They called them primitive. But I think they laughed because they've never faced them before. That's ridiculous, General Hayes said. They're thousands of years ahead of us. They must have dealt with kinetic weapons. Danny shook his head. Have they? Think about it. They showed us energy shields, molecular scramblers, quantum disruptors. Everything they have is based on manipulating energy or matter at the atomic level. But what if we hit them with something that doesn't care about atoms or energy? President Rodriguez was starting to understand. You mean something that just relies on basic physics? Mass times velocity equals force. Right, Danny said. Their shields are designed to stop energy weapons and slow-moving objects. But what about a piece of metal moving at 10% the speed of light? What about a tungsten rod accelerated by a railgun to incredible speeds? Colonel Amy Johnson, head of weapons development, spoke up. We've been working on kinetic weapons for years. Mass drivers, railguns, coil guns. We dropped the projects because energy weapons seemed more advanced. More advanced doesn't always mean better, Danny pointed out. Sometimes the simplest solution is the right one. The room fell silent as everyone thought about this idea. Could Earth's primitive weapons actually be effective against alien technology? It's worth investigating, President Rodriguez decided. Danny, I want you to work with Colonel Johnson. See if we can develop kinetic weapons that could penetrate alien defenses. We'll need to be careful, Admiral Carter warned. The aliens are watching us. If they see us building new weapons, they might attack early. Then we'll be sneaky about it, Danny said. We'll make it look like we're improving our energy weapons. All the work on kinetic systems will happen in secret. Over the next week, Danny and Colonel Johnson worked day and night. They gathered the best engineers and physicists on Earth. The secret project was called Operation Slingshot. The idea was simple but dangerous. Instead of trying to match alien energy weapons, Earth would build the most powerful kinetic weapons ever created. Railguns that could fire metal slugs at incredible speeds. Mass drivers that could launch heavy projectiles with the force of nuclear bombs. The key is velocity, Danny explained to the team. Energy equals 1/2 mass times velocity squared. If we can make something move fast enough, it doesn't matter how small it is. It will hit with devastating force. Dr. Steve Martinez, a physicist from MIT, raised his hand. What about materials? We need projectiles that won't melt or break apart at such high speeds. Tungsten, suggested Colonel Johnson. It has the highest melting point of any metal. Dense, too. A tungsten rod moving at relativistic speeds would punch through anything. What about depleted uranium? Asked another engineer. It's even denser. Then tungsten. And it becomes radioactive when it hits a target. Danny nodded. We'll test both. The aliens expect us to use fancy materials with exotic properties. They won't expect us to throw heavy metals at them really, really fast. Meanwhile, Captain Jake Morrison was working on the space-based part of the plan. His ship, the Defender, was being secretly modified with new weapon systems. The changes were hidden inside what looked like sensor improvements and shield upgrades. The aliens will be scanning our ships, Jake told his engineering team. We need to make sure they can't tell what we're really doing. Lieutenant Caddy Sullivan was helping design the weapon targeting systems. Sir, I've been thinking about the alien ships. They're beautiful, but beauty might be a weakness. How so? They're made of crystal and exotic metals. Very advanced materials. But they're also probably brittle. If you hit crystal with enough force, it shatters. It doesn't bend like steel. It breaks. Jake smiled. So their advanced materials might actually make them more vulnerable to kinetic weapons, not less. Exactly. Their ships are optimized for energy warfare. But kinetic weapons operate on completely different principles. As the days passed, more pieces of the plan came together. Earth space stations were secretly equipped with mass drivers. Lunar bases received railgun installations disguised as mining equipment. The asteroid belt mining colonies were converted into kinetic weapon platforms. President Rodriguez received daily reports on the progress. How are we doing, Danny? Better than expected, the young engineer replied. We've built prototype weapons that can fire projectiles at 15% light speed. At that velocity, a tungsten rod the size of a pencil would hit with the force of a small nuclear bomb. What about the aliens? Are they suspicious? Admiral Carter answered that question. We've been making a big show of upgrading our plasma, weapons, and energy shields. The aliens have been watching, and they seem amused by our efforts. They think we're just polishing our toys. Good, the president said. Let them think we're helpless. Meanwhile, we'll prepare a surprise they'll never see coming. But not everyone was convinced the plan would work. General Hayes continued to argue for surrender. This is madness, he said during one heated meeting. Even if our kinetic weapons work, we're still talking about fighting an empire that spans multiple star systems. They have thousands of ships. We have a few dozen. Quality over quantity, Danny argued. If we can destroy their main fleet, the rest might think twice about attacking Earth. And if you're wrong? General Hayes demanded. If the kinetic weapons don't work, then we've wasted our only chance at peaceful surrender. President Rodriguez made the final decision. We try Danny's plan, but we also prepare for the possibility that it might fail. Admiral Carter, I want you to work on evacuation plans. If the battle goes badly, we need to get as many people off Earth as possible." The Admiral nodded grimly. "I understand, Madam." President. As the deadline approached, Earth's secret preparations intensified. Factories worked around the clock to produce tungsten and uranium projectiles. Railgun installations were completed on the Moon and Mars. The fleet was positioned to look like they were preparing for conventional energy warfare. Captain Nicole Evans, commanding the Lunar Weapons Facility, tested the first full-scale mass driver. The tungsten projectile accelerated to 12% light speed and hit a test asteroid with incredible force. The asteroid simply vanished, turned into a cloud of dust and vapor. "Did you see that?" Nicole asked her team. "The entire asteroid just disappeared. The kinetic energy was converted to heat instantly," explained her science officer. "The impact temperature was probably 50,000 degrees, hot enough to vaporize any known material." Back on Earth, Danny made final adjustments to the targeting systems. "Remember, we only get one chance at surprise. Once the aliens realize what we're doing, they'll adapt their defenses." "How long do you think we have?" asked Colonel Johnson. "Maybe minutes," Danny admitted. "Their computers are incredibly fast, but minutes might be enough if we hit them hard and fast." With 3 days left before. Dr. Steve Martinez stood in the underground laboratory 3 miles beneath the Nevada desert. The facility was so secret that it didn't appear on any map. Only 50 people on Earth knew it existed. This was where humanity's most desperate plan was taking shape. "Test 17 is ready," announced Lisa Park, the lead weapons engineer. She was young but brilliant, handpicked by Danny Cooper for this critical project. Steve watched through thick glass as the prototype railgun powered up. The weapon looked nothing like the fancy alien energy guns. It was big, simple, and made from Earth steel, but looks could be deceiving. "Firing in 3, 2, 1, Lisa counted down. The railgun fired with a sound like thunder. The tungsten projectile accelerated down the long barrel, gaining speed with each foot it traveled. When it left the gun, it was moving at 18% the speed of light. The target was a piece of alien hull material that Dr. Amanda Foster had secretly scraped from the Zephyrian ship during their diplomatic visit. It was incredibly strong, able to withstand energy weapons that could melt through human steel like butter. The tungsten slug hit the alien material and went through it like it wasn't there. The impact created a perfect hole, with edges so smooth they looked polished. The alien material hadn't been destroyed by energy or heat. It had simply been moved out of the way by pure kinetic force. "Success," Steve whispered. The alien material offered no resistance at all. Meanwhile, 300 miles above Earth, Captain Tony Lewis commanded the secret space station called Haven. Officially, Haven was a research facility studying asteroid mining techniques. In reality, it was the largest weapons platform ever, built by humans. "How many mass drivers are operational?" Tony asked his engineering chief, Commander Maria Santos. 12 are ready for combat," Maria replied. "Each one can fire a 1-ton uranium projectile every 30 seconds. At maximum velocity, each shot carries the energy of a nuclear weapon." Tony nodded with satisfaction. The mass drivers were hidden inside what looked like mining equipment. The aliens had scanned Haven several times, but had seen nothing suspicious. "What about the targeting system?" Tony asked. "That's the beautiful part," Maria explained. "We don't need complex targeting. The projectiles are moving so fast that they travel in straight lines. Basic physics handles the rest." Down on Earth's surface, the deception was working perfectly. President Michelle Rodriguez made public appearances at military bases where soldiers were testing improved plasma rifles. The media showed footage of new energy shields being installed on human ships. Everything looked like humanity was trying to upgrade their primitive energy weapons. The aliens were watching, just as expected. High Commander Vexstar sent regular reports to his superiors about human military preparations. The humans are making their toys slightly better, he reported. Their plasma weapons now have 5% more power. Their shields can block slightly stronger attacks. It is amusing to watch them polish pebbles and call them stones. But Vexstar and his people didn't see the real preparations happening. In secret locations around the solar system, on the moon, Captain Nicole Evans supervised the installation of the most powerful railgun ever built. The weapon stretched for 50 miles through underground tunnels, using the moon's low gravity to achieve incredible projectile speeds. Final test of the lunar cannon, Nicole announced to her team. Target is the abandoned space station Omega, 2 million miles away. The railgun fired with enough force to shake the moon's surface. The tungsten projectile, weighing 50 pounds, accelerated to 22% light speed. It crossed 2 million miles of space in less than 30 seconds and hit the target station dead center. The explosion was visible from Earth as a bright flash of light. The space station, which had been the size of a city block, was completely destroyed. Not damaged, destroyed. Turned into a cloud of metal vapor expanding into space. I think it works, Nicole said with grim satisfaction. On Mars, Colonel Amy Johnson was overseeing an even more ambitious project. The red planet's lower gravity and thin atmosphere made it perfect for testing experimental weapons. The coil gun array is ready, reported her assistant, Lieutenant Rick Chun. 24 guns working together, all aimed at the same target. The target was a captured alien probe that had been studying human defenses. The probe was made of the same crystal metal composite as the main alien ships. It would be a perfect test. All 24 coil guns fired at once. The depleted uranium projectiles, each one moving at 16% light speed, hit the alien probe simultaneously. The result was spectacular. The probe didn't just explode, it ceased to exist. The kinetic energy converted to heat so quickly that the alien material was instantly turned into plasma. Holy cow, Rick whispered. Did we just vaporize an alien probe? We sure did, Amy replied. And if it works on their probes, it will work on their ships. Back on Earth, Danny Cooper was coordinating all the secret weapons programs from a command center in Colorado. His job was to make sure everything would work together when the time came. Status report from all facilities, Danny called out. Haven Station reports 12 mass drivers ready, came the first reply. Luna Base reports lunar cannon operational, said another voice. Mars Colony reports coil gun array at full power, added a third. Asteroid Belt Mining Platform 7 reports railgun installation complete, finished the last station. Danny smiled. In just 3 weeks, humanity had built the most powerful kinetic weapons in known history. The aliens thought humans were polishing their toys. Instead, they had created instruments of devastating destruction. But the weapons were only part of the plan. The other part was intelligence. Commander Ryan Brooks was leading that effort from a hidden facility in Antarctica. His job was to learn everything possible about alien tactics and weaknesses. We've been studying their communication patterns, Ryan explained to his team of code breakers and analysts. The aliens are very predictable. They always attack in the same formation. They always use the same tactics. That makes sense, said Dr. Janet Kim, a military psychologist. When you've never lost a battle, you don't see any reason to change your methods. Exactly, Ryan agreed. They're going to attack us the same way they've attacked everyone else. Overwhelming force applied directly to our strongest defenses. And that's when we hit them with the kinetic weapons, added Lieutenant Tom Baker, Ryan's tactical expert. Right. They'll be focused on our energy weapons and shields. They won't expect attacks from completely different angles using completely different physics. The intelligence team had also been in contact with human colonies that the aliens had conquered. Most people didn't know that Earth had secret settlements in other star systems. These colonies were now under alien rule, but they could still send coded messages. Message from New Hope Colony, reported Communications Officer Sarah Kim. The aliens always attack with their main fleet bunched together. They rely on overlapping shields and coordinated firepower. That's good news for us, Ryan said. If their ships are close together, our area effect kinetic weapons will be more effective. Message from Freedom Station, Sarah continued. The aliens have never faced kinetic weapons before. None of their conquered enemies used simple mass velocity physics. This was the most important intelligence of all. The aliens had conquered dozens of worlds, but all of those civilizations had used energy-based weapons similar to their own. Nobody had ever tried to fight them with what they considered primitive kinetic force. As the final week began, the deception intensified. President Rodriguez announced that Earth's fleet would meet the aliens near Jupiter for a final negotiation. The media showed human ships moving into position, their energy weapons clearly visible. High Commander Vextar watched the human preparations with amusement. Look how they arrange their small ships, he told his officers. Like children playing war games. They actually think their plasma guns will hurt us. The alien commander didn't notice that the human ships were positioned at odd angles to each other. He didn't realize that many of the sensor arrays on human vessels were actually disguised kinetic weapons. He couldn't see the hidden mass drivers, railguns and coilgun systems scattered throughout the solar system. Should we attack now? Asked one of Vextar's subordinates. End this foolishness quickly? No, Vextar replied. Let them have their moment of hope. When they fire their energy weapons at our shields and see how useless they are, their surrender will be more complete. On Earth, Danny Cooper was making final preparations in the secret command center. Every kinetic weapon in the solar system was now connected to his targeting computers. With the push of a button, he could coordinate the most devastating attack in human history. All stations report ready, Danny announced to President Rodriguez. We have 47 major kinetic weapons and over 200 smaller ones. Total firepower equivalent to several thousand nuclear bombs, all delivered at relativistic speeds. What are our chances? The president asked quietly. Danny considered the question carefully. If the weapons work as designed, we'll destroy most of their fleet in the first few minutes. If they don't work. He shrugged. Then we'll all be dead soon anyway. President Rodriguez nodded. Then we better make sure they work. The final day arrived. The alien fleet moved into attack. Admiral Lisa Carter stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Hughes Liberator, watching the alien fleet arrange itself for battle. The Zephyrian ships moved with elegant precision, their crystal hulls catching the light of distant Jupiter. They looked like beautiful death angels preparing to deliver judgment. All human ships, this is Admiral Carter, she announced over the fleet communication system. Begin conventional attack pattern. Make it look real. The first phase of the battle began exactly as the aliens expected. Human ships fired their plasma weapons and energy missiles at the Zephyrian fleet. The attacks were real, but they were also a distraction. The aliens needed to be focused on the fake threat while the real weapons prepared to strike. High Commander Vextar watched the human attacks with amused satisfaction. The plasma bolts struck his ship's energy shields and bounced off harmlessly. The human missiles exploded against the alien barriers without causing any damage. Is this their best effort? Vextar asked his tactical officer. Their weapons are even weaker than I expected. The humans are firing everything they have, the officer replied. Their plasma weapons, particle beams, fusion missiles. All of it is useless against our shields. Vexstar nodded. Begin the counterattack. Use minimal force. We want to disable their ships, not destroy them. Dead slaves are worthless. The alien weapons opened fire. Quantum disruptors tore through human ships like paper. Molecular scramblers turned human armor into dust. 3 human vessels were destroyed in the first 30 seconds of alien return fire. Captain Jake Morrison watched from the bridge of the Defender as the ship U.S. Courage exploded in a ball of flame. 200 good people died in that explosion, and their deaths accomplished nothing. The alien shields hadn't even flickered. "Sir, the aliens are holding back," reported Lieutenant Katie Sullivan. "They're not using full power. They want to capture us alive." "That's going to be their mistake," Jake replied grimly. "Danny, are you seeing this?" 300 million miles away, Danny Cooper watched the battle through sensors scattered across the solar system. The conventional phase was going exactly as planned. The aliens were confident, relaxed, and completely focused on the real human threat. "All kinetic weapon stations, this is command," Danny announced. "The aliens are committed to their attack pattern. They're not going to retreat now. Begin final targeting sequence." On the moon, Captain Nicole Evans made final adjustments to the massive lunar railgun. The weapon had been charging for 6 hours, building up enough power to accelerate a tungsten projectile to nearly 25% of light speed. "Target confirmed," Nicole announced. "Alien flagship, 200 million miles away. Firing. Solution locked." The railgun fired with a sound like the world ending. The 50-pound tungsten slug accelerated down the 50-mile barrel, gaining speed with every foot. When it left the moon's surface, it was moving faster than any human made. Object in history. A projectile would take 8 minutes to reach its target. 8 minutes during which the aliens would have no idea what was coming. On Mars, Colonel Amy Johnson coordinated the firing of all 24 coil guns in her array. Each weapon launched a depleted uranium projectile weighing 10 pounds. The projectiles spread out as they flew, creating a pattern that would hit the alien formation from multiple angles. "Mars artillery firing," Amy reported. 24 shots away. Time to target, 12 minutes. In the asteroid belt, the hidden mining platforms began firing their railguns. What had looked like ordinary mining equipment was actually the most extensive weapon system ever built. Dozens of tungsten rods began their journey toward the alien fleet. "Asteroid belt weapons firing," came the report. 43 shots away. Time to target, 6 minutes. But the most devastating attack was coming from Haven Station, the secret weapons platform disguised as a research facility. Captain Tony Lewis watched as all 12 mass drivers prepared to fire simultaneously. "This is Haven Station," Tony announced. "Firing the big guns." The mass drivers fired in sequence, one shot every 3 seconds. Each projectile weighed 1 ton and carried the kinetic energy of a nuclear weapon. The uranium slugs accelerated to 18% of light speed before leaving the station. 12 heavy shots away, Tony reported. Time to target, 4 minutes. Back near Jupiter, the space battle continued. More human ships were being destroyed by alien weapons, but the aliens were being careful not to cause too much damage. They wanted to demonstrate their superiority, not commit genocide. "The humans are fighting bravely," Vexstar observed as another human ship exploded. "But bravery cannot overcome the laws of physics. Their weapons simply cannot penetrate our defenses." Admiral Carter counted down the minutes in her head. The kinetic weapons were still traveling through space, invisible to alien sensors. The aliens had no idea that death was approaching them at incredible speeds. "All ships, continue the attack," Carter ordered. "Make them think this is all we have." The human fleet kept firing their energy weapons, even though they knew it was useless. Ships maneuvered and fired and maneuvered, putting on a show of desperate resistance. Some ships were destroyed, but their sacrifice was buying time for the real weapons to arrive. Captain Morrison felt his ship shake as an alien energy beam struck the defenders' shields. The shields held, but barely. Katie, how long until the kinetic weapons arrive? First impact in 90 seconds, Katie replied, watching her instruments carefully. The asteroid belt railguns will hit first. 90 seconds felt like 90 hours. More human ships were destroyed. The UE's Challenger exploded when a quantum disruptor punched through its hull. The UE's Freedom broke apart under molecular scrambler. Fire. Good people were dying while the aliens played with them like cats with mice. 60 seconds, Katie announced. Vexstar was becoming bored with the one-sided battle. Signal the human admiral, he ordered. Tell her to surrender now, and we'll stop destroying our ships. The communication came through to Admiral Carter. Human fleet, this is High Commander Vexstar. You have fought with courage, but you cannot win. Surrender now, and your remaining ships will be spared. Carter looked at her tactical display. She had started the battle with 23 ships. Now she had only 14 left, but those losses were about to be avenged. 30 seconds, Katie announced over the fleet communications. This is Admiral Carter to the alien fleet, she replied to Vexstar's surrender demand. We have a message for you. I am listening, Vexstar said with amusement. 10 seconds, Katie whispered. Admiral Carter smiled coldly. The message is this. You should have taken our weapons seriously. What do you mean? Vexstar asked, confused. 5 seconds, Katie said. Duck, Admiral Carter whispered. The first kinetic weapon struck the alien formation with the force of a small star. The tungsten rod from the asteroid belt railgun hit an alien cruiser at 17% of light speed. The ship didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist. The kinetic energy converted instantly to heat, creating a flash of light brighter. Then the sun. Vexstar's tactical officer stared at his instruments in shock. Sir, the cruiser Nexval just disappeared. What do you mean, disappeared? I mean it's gone, sir. Not destroyed, not damaged, gone. There's nothing left but expanding plasma. Before Vexstar could respond, the second kinetic weapon arrived. Another tungsten rod punched through an alien destroyer at 20% light speed. The impact created a second miniature sun as the ship was instantly vaporized. Sir, we're under attack. The tactical officer shouted. But I don't see any incoming weapons. That's impossible, Vexstar declared. There are no human ships in position to. The third impact cut him off. This time it was one of the depleted uranium projectiles from Mars. It struck the alien, battleship Shadow Tar, and punched completely through it. The uranium core went critical on impact, creating a nuclear explosion inside the alien vessel. All ships emergency evasive maneuvers, Vexstar commanded, but it was too late. The kinetic weapons were already in flight, and there was no way to dodge them. The fourth impact was the worst yet. A 1-ton uranium slug from Haven Station struck Vexstar's own flagship. The projectile hit the crystal hull at 18% light speed and released the energy of a nuclear weapon. The beautiful crystal structure shattered like glass, venting atmosphere and alien crew into space. Damage report, Vexstar shouted as his ship shook from the impact. Hull breach on decks 4 through 12, came the panicked reply. We've lost main power. Shields are down. Half the crew is dead, but the impacts kept coming. The railguns from the asteroid belt had fired in sequence, and now their projectiles were arriving one after another. Each impact destroyed or crippled an alien ship. The beautiful crystal vessels that had seemed so invincible were being smashed apart by simple chunks of metal moving very fast. How is this possible? Vexstar demanded. Our sensors show no incoming weapons. His science officer looked up from his instruments with terror in his large alien eyes. Sir, the weapons are too small and moving too fast for our sensors to detect. They're just pieces of metal, but they're traveling at relativistic speeds. Metal? Simple metal projectiles? Yes, sir. Tungsten and uranium, mostly. Basic kinetic weapons accelerated to incredible velocities. Vexstar felt his confidence crumble. But those are primitive weapons. We stopped using K. The silence after the battle was deafening. Where moments before there had been 12 mighty alien warships and dozens of escort vessels, now there was only debris floating in space. Pieces of crystal hull caught the distant light of Jupiter, creating a field of sparkling fragments that had once been the pride of the Zephyrian Empire. Admiral Lisa Carter stood on the bridge of the Hughes Liberator, hardly believing what she was seeing. The alien fleet that had seemed so invincible was gone, destroyed by weapons the aliens had mocked as primitive toys. "Damage report," she ordered, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what had just happened. "We lost 9 ships during the battle," reported her tactical officer, "but 14 vessels remain operational. Casualties are heavy, but the fleet survives." Captain Jake Morrison's voice came over the communication system from the Defender. "Lisa, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Did we actually win?" "We won," Carter confirmed, still amazed by the victory. "The kinetic weapons worked better than we dared hope." On his damaged flagship, High Commander Vexstar tried to understand what had happened to his fleet. The bridge was in chaos, with alien crew members working frantically to keep life support functioning. Half his ship was gone, torn away by a single kinetic impact. "Science officer, report," Vexstar demanded, his voice weak from pain and shock. The science officer looked up from his shattered instruments. "Sir, preliminary analysis suggests the human kinetic weapons achieve velocities between 15 and 25% of light speed. At those velocities, even small projectiles carry incredible destructive force." "But how?" Vexstar asked. "How did they accelerate simple metal to such speeds?" "Electromagnetic acceleration, sir. Railguns and coilguns using principles we abandoned thousands of years ago. They turned the entire human solar system into a massive kinetic weapons array." Vexstar felt his worldview crumbling. His people had laughed at human weapons, called them obsolete and amusing. But those obsolete weapons had just destroyed the most advanced fleet in Zephian history. "Sir, incoming transmission from the human admiral," reported the communications officer. "Put it through," Vexstar said reluctantly. Admiral Carter's face appeared on the damaged alien view screen. She looked tired but determined. "High Commander Vexstar, this is Admiral Carter. Your fleet has been defeated. Do you wish to discuss terms?" Vexstar stared at the human woman who had orchestrated his defeat. "Terms? You offer terms to us?" "I offer mercy," Carter replied. "Your surviving ships can leave our solar system unharmed. In return, you will carry a message to your empire." "What message?" "That Earth is not as helpless as you believed. Our primitive weapons are quite effective when used properly. Tell your people that humanity will defend itself." Vexstar looked around his ruined bridge. 4 ships. That's all that remained of his mighty fleet. 4 crippled vessels limping away from a battle they had been certain to win. I do not understand," Vexstar admitted. "Your kinetic weapons are thousands of years old. How did they penetrate our most advanced defenses?" Dr. Amanda Foster's voice joined the conversation from the human fleet. "Because you designed your defenses to stop energy weapons. You forgot that kinetic energy follows different rules." "But kinetic weapons are so simple," Vexstar protested. "Any species can build them." "That's exactly right," Danny Cooper's voice added from Earth. "Any species can build them, But most species abandon them when they discover energy weapons. They think newer means better. Captain Nicole Evans spoke from the lunar base. We didn't abandon kinetic weapons. We improved them. We made them faster, more accurate, more devastating. While you were perfecting energy shields, we were perfecting ways to punch through any defense with pure physics. Vextar realized the scope of his mistake. The Zephyrian Empire had become so focused on advanced technology that they had forgotten the simple fact that kinetic energy was still the most basic and unstoppable force in the universe. Your weapons worked because we never expected them, he said quietly. No species has used kinetic force against us in over 1,000 years. That was your weakness, Admiral Carter pointed out. You became so confident in your technological superiority that you stopped thinking about alternatives. Commander Ryan Brooks, speaking from his intelligence center, added another crucial point. You also became predictable. Every battle you fought followed the same pattern. Overwhelming energy-based attacks against conventional defenses. You never adapted because you never needed to. Until now, Vextar said bitterly. Until now, Carter agreed. But this doesn't have to be the end of relations between our species. We can work together instead of fighting. Vextar was quiet for a long moment. His people had ruled this part of space for thousands of years. They had never been defeated, never been forced to negotiate as equals. The experience was humbling and terrifying. What do you propose? He asked finally. A mutual defense treaty, Carter replied. Earth will share our kinetic weapons technology with the Zephyrian Empire. In return, you share your advanced energy technology with us. Together, we become stronger than either species alone. This was revolutionary thinking for Vextar. The Zephyrian Empire had always ruled through technological superiority. They had never formed alliances with primitive species. My government will never agree to treat humans as equals, Vextar warned. Then your government will keep losing ships to species they underestimate, Carter replied bluntly. We're not the only ones in the galaxy who might have effective primitive weapons, Dr. Foster added her perspective. Commander, your people are scientifically advanced, but tactically inflexible. You've won so many easy victories that you've forgotten how to adapt. Other species will notice that weakness. Vextar knew she was right. Word of this defeat would spread throughout the galaxy. Every species the Zephyrian Empire had conquered or threatened would start looking for ways to exploit the same weaknesses that humans had found. The Corvani Syndicate has been testing kinetic weapons for years, Vextar admitted reluctantly. We ignored their research because we thought it was irrelevant. Not irrelevant, Danny Cooper corrected. Just underestimated. The Corvani might not be as advanced as we are with kinetic technology, but they could still surprise you. Over the next several hours, the two fleets maintained an uneasy ceasefire while negotiating the terms of Zephyrian withdrawal. The aliens were learning hard lessons about human determination and ingenuity. Captain Tony Lewis, commanding Haven Station, received a request from the aliens to inspect human kinetic weapons technology. They want to understand how we achieved such high projectile velocities, Tony reported. Show them the basic principles, Admiral Carter decided, but not the advanced targeting systems or firing coordination protocols. The aliens were amazed by the simplicity and effectiveness of human kinetic weapons. The railguns and coilguns used straightforward electromagnetic acceleration. The mass drivers employed basic gravitational principles. Nothing exotic, nothing that required rare materials or advanced physics. This is embarrassing, admitted Vextar's science officer during a technical exchange. Your weapons are so simple that our academy students could build them. But we never considered doing so. That's the difference between our species, explained Colonel Amy Johnson from Mars. You reached a high level of technology and stopped innovating with older methods. We kept improving everything, including the basics. Lieutenant Katie Sullivan added her own observation. Your ships are incredibly advanced, but they're also incredibly specialized. They're optimized for energy warfare. Our ships are more flexible. As the negotiations continued, both sides began to see the advantages of cooperation. The Zephyrians had faster-than-light travel, advanced materials, and powerful energy weapons. Humans had kinetic weapons, tactical flexibility, and innovative thinking. A partnership could benefit both our species, Vextar finally admitted. But my people will resist the idea of learning from a primitive species. Then don't call us primitive, suggested President Michelle Rodriguez, joining the conversation from Earth. Call us specialists in kinetic warfare. Your people can accept learning from specialists. This face-saving approach appealed to Vextar. His people could admit to learning from human specialists without admitting that they had been defeated by primitive weapons. The final agreement was signed 3 days later. The Zephyrian Empire would withdraw from human space and establish formal diplomatic relations with Earth. Technology exchanges would begin within 6 months. Most importantly, the aliens would carry news of human capabilities throughout the galaxy. Other species need to know that humans are not helpless, Admiral Carter insisted. We don't want any more protection offers. As the surviving alien ships prepared to leave the solar system, Vextar sent a final message to the human fleet. Admiral Carter, you have taught my people a valuable lesson. We forgot that wisdom can come from any source, even those we consider inferior. We will not make that mistake again. See that you don't, Carter replied. And remember, the next time someone offers to protect Earth, remind them what happened to your fleet. The alien ships disappeared into hyperspace, carrying with them news that would reshape galactic politics. The human species was no longer a group of primitives playing with toys. They were a serious military